Hi VC, this is my entry to Paul Psykodj67's 250 subscribers competition. Hi Paul, just a quick confession. I can see here I've been subscribed to your channel for quite some time and I don't believe I've been to watch any of your videos yet, so I'm really sorry. I shall put that right this week and go and pay a visit to your channel. And I saw other Paul P Dubs entry, which is what gave me the idea to enter, because this is a video that I've been intending to make for some time, so I just thought I'd turn it into a competition. I actually quite like entering contests. I think they're my favourite kind of video to make, so I thought, why not? Okay, so you wanted us to talk about perhaps an occasion where we went to a gig that was really memorable, where we perhaps met the band or got, talking to some of the people in the band. Now, I must confess, my entry to this is a little bit strange because it doesn't involve going to a gig and it doesn't involve meeting the band, so you just have to bear with me, and hopefully you'll see that it does, that my story does at least bear a passing resemblance to what you've asked for. But if you decide it's not right, you can just disqualify my entry. It's a video I've been meaning to make for some time though, so I thought I'd just get on and do it, and I'm going to call it The Night I Watched a Movie with Paul McCartney, because I did, essentially. So yeah, I'll tell the story now and you can see what you make of it. A few years ago I worked for an English newspaper called The Guardian as a music writer. If you want to know the full story of that, you can go and watch it. It's in my video, it's in the Bill Bruford video that I made a while ago. I was only a freelance journalist, just doing some music writing for them for a few years, and occasionally I used to get free tickets to go along and see events, things that were going on. And I got a ticket through the post because I'd reviewed some kind of DVD, I think, for a particular record company. So I got a free ticket, and it was for a movie of the Concert for George. When George Harrison died, his friends got together and held a concert for him. I think it was in New York. I could be wrong. They all came together and played his music in front of a live audience. It was a really great concert, actually. And the concert was filmed, and it was going to be released as a cinema film. And there was going to be a launch of the film down in London in a cinema in Leicester Square, which is a kind of big tourist area of London. So I got the free ticket and I thought to myself, it's quite a long way to go, on the train, but oh well, let's just go and have a good time, So I go down to London and I find the cinema in Leicester Square, and there's a queue of people going in. So I get in the queue, and there's two guys in front of me in the queue, and I don't recognise one of them immediately, but I do recognise the other guy. Now, the other guy that I did recognise was this chap here. Now, you might not know who he is, but his name is Ray Cooper, and he is a percussionist who's done a lot of work over the years with George Harrison. He's played on numerous George Harrison albums. He's a really good percussionist, actually, really good musician. So I look and I see him standing there and I think, oh wow, amazing, it's Ray Cooper, And then I clock who the guy is on his left, and it is no other than Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton is literally standing right in front of me. I could literally hold out my hand and touch the back of his neck. Eric Clapton standing there, and thinking, wow, okay, this evening's going to be more exciting than I thought. And yeah, so we sort of queue to go in. And I've drawn a little primitive diagram of the cinema. Okay, here's the screen. Two sets of stalls. Here's the exit here. So I come in, and I decide not to go too near the front because I don't like going too near the front. So I come in and I basically sit roughly, I would say, 3 rows in from the back and roughly 3 seats. So I sit there where it says JG, that's me, and I sit down there. And we wait, and there are people coming in, And I'm just kind of there, and then all of a sudden this really short guy comes in with a tall girl. He's wearing a suit, he looks quite dapper, you know, he walks in, really, really short guy, and I look at him and I think, I recognise him. And then I realise it's Bill Wyman. I'm standing there, I'm sitting there thinking, wow, Bill Wyman is standing right in front of me. He kind of hovers around for a bit and then he kind of moves further into the cinema and sits down somewhere, you know, I don't know where. So I carry on sitting there, and then another guy walks in, again with a lady, and again he kind of stands in the aisle, chatting to her, trying to work out where he's going to sit, and it's David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. And again, I'm kind of thinking, wow, you know, I'm in a cinema here with the kind of, you know, the royalty of rock. I don't know who else was there that night. You know, maybe Ringo was there, maybe Elton John was there. I don't know. But I've seen Eric Clapton. I've seen Bill Wyman. I've seen David Gilmour. I mean, these are all friends of George Harrison, of course. You know, they all played on his records. They were, you know, friends of his, and of course that's why they're there. You know. Anyway, I then become aware that there's some excitement happening in this part of the cinema as people gradually realise who is kind of sat in their midst. And I crane my neck a little bit and I look over, so here's me here, I look over to the opposite stall, so this is probably about 15 feet away from where I'm sat, you know, and just sat there is Paul McCartney. He's with Heather Mills, he's wearing a dark black sort of suit, and he's just looking very, very kind of normal. You know how Paul McCartney's got that kind of normal look about him. Well, it's a strange thing he gives off. If you see Paul McCartney in the flesh, and this is the only time that I ever saw him, apart from seeing him in concert, where I actually just was, you know, in a place and he was there, there's an odd thing that goes on, because he looks very normal, but at the same time he exudes this immense air of fame and just being this kind of legendary person. You know, he's Paul McCartney, he's one of the most recognisable people in the world, and yet when you see him he just looks like a guy, but he still looks like Paul McCartney, you know. And there's a great deal of excitement, I think, as people gradually realise that they're sat really near him, you know, next to him even, and he's turning round and he's giving it the thumbs up and he's waving at people. You know what he's like, Paul McCartney, he's a consummate showman, you know. If he's switched on, then he's switched on. And people actually start applauding, I think, when they realise that they've got a Beatle in their midst. There's a ripple of applause goes through the place and a ripple of excitement. You know, Paul McCartney's here. And it was a very exciting moment for me. And, you know, I've been a Beatles fan all my life. And, you know, as a kid, I always used to think, God, it'd be amazing to meet Paul McCartney. It'd be amazing to even see Paul McCartney, you know, close up in the flesh. And here it was coming true. Anyway, so we watched the movie. And, you know, it's really good, really enjoyable. And when it finishes, we all get up to leave, and my row gets up, but we're waiting for these guys to go. And Paul's aisle stall here empties out, and he walks, and he comes down here, and he's with Heather. Heather is very pregnant, and I think she was literally like within days of having the baby, their first baby together. And they walk down the aisle here in order to exit, and I'm standing here. So Paul passes me there, and I think at this stage he's probably within 5 or 6 feet of where I'm standing. And he just walks out of the cinema with Heather, and that was it. I was thinking, wow, amazing, you know. And then the strangest, I just do the weirdest thing, and I still can't work out to this day really why I did it, but I thought to myself, the best way I'm going to get another glimpse of him, or maybe even meet him or talk to him, I don't know, is to leave the building. I'll walk out, and then he'll come out, and then I'll see him again. That was my weird kind of, you know, twisted logic. So I walk out of the cinema, and it's so funny because I walk out, and all of a sudden all these flashbulbs start going off, and I'm dazzled, you know, and then I kind of look down and realise I'm walking on this red carpet. And I look up, and there's like hundreds of people all gathered around the cinema outside. There's like crash barriers, press, cameras, photographers, TV people, you know, God knows who. And of course they're all craning their necks, waiting to see who's going to come out of this place. And literally, I think I am the first person to walk out of there. So there's a flurry of excitement. Oh, who's this, you know? And it's me walking out, probably wearing an anorak and carrying a plastic bag. Walking out of there, and obviously people are like, oh right, okay, it's just some guy, you know. So embarrassing. Anyway, I walk out, and I stand there waiting, and I'm stood there and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting and I'm waiting, and I'm looking at my watch thinking, what's going on? Roughly 20 minutes go by, possibly even more, and finally people start to come out of the cinema. David Gilmour comes out, Clapton comes out, you know, various people come out, and then Paul comes out with Heather, giving it this, you know, Paul. People start waving and screaming and, you know, whatever. And he immediately, after his wave and his thumbs up, he gets into a big black limo and he gets driven away, and that's it. And I'm thinking, oh well, you know, that was the closest I've ever come to meeting him, and I was really near to him, and hooray, you know. So I go home and I look online the next day and I realise what happened after the film had finished. Paul and everybody else went into the lobby of the cinema and proceeded to spend about 20 minutes mingling with people, you know, chatting, having photographs taken, signing autographs. Apparently, and this may not be true, Paul even went into the gents' toilets and people had a bit of a shock, standing there, you know, having a pee, and just, you know, look over to your left and Paul's at the next shank, kind of thing. And that sounds a bit seedy, doesn't it? Yeah, so I mean, I just basically completely ballsed it up. You know, I should have stayed put. I should have walked out into the lobby. I would probably have ended up meeting him. I would probably have ended up shaking his hand, having a photograph taken with him. But instead of that, I decided to walk out of there, and I still don't know why I did that. But in a way, I'm kind of pleased that I did, because I just think meeting Paul McCartney, you just think, well, you're going to be just a tongue-tied, silly fan, aren't you? Really. I don't know, maybe I'm kidding myself, maybe it was a great lost opportunity. It clearly was a great lost opportunity, but you have to kind of live with these things and justify them to yourself, don't you? You know, I just did what I did, and I look back now and I think, yeah, it would have been great. It would have been great to have been a bit more switched on and realised there's no reason why he's going to walk out of this place. He likes to press the flesh, does our Paul. Anyway, it was a really strange and surreal night, and one that I'll always remember, and I'll be able to tell my grandkids the night I watched a movie with Paul McCartney and David Gilmour and Bill Wyman and Eric Clapton and God knows who else. Anyway, that's my story, Paul. I hope it fits in with what you thought your competition was meant to be, and if it doesn't, like I say, chuck it in the bin. All right. Okay, VC, my contest comes to an end in the next day or two. I think it comes to an end tomorrow, and I'll be doing the draw in the next few days, so watch out for that. So in the meantime, I will wish you all the best. Love and peace from the Vinyl Professor. See you all soon. Bye.